Everyone starts the journey. Almost no one finishes it for a long time. I believed that failure came from lack of talent or bad luck. I thought people didn't reach their goals because they weren't smart enough, strong enough, or disciplined enough. But over time, I began to notice something else. Most people don't quit because the road is too hard. They quit because they stop walking. Not all at once, not dramatically. They stop little by little, distracted by things that seem harmless and de moment. That's why this story stayed with me. It isn't really about a king or a palace. It's about how life works. We all start the journey with excitement. We all wake up one day with a goal, a dream, or a clear intention. At the beginning, our focus feels strong. We tell ourselves, this time I won't stop. This time I'll see it through. But then the road begins, and along the way, distractions appear. Not obstacles, distractions. And that's where most people lose their way. What makes distractions so dangerous is that they don't feel like enemies. They feel like rewards, comfort, pleasure, entertainment, small breaks that slowly turn into long pauses. I used to think learning how to stay positive in tough times was the key to staying focused, but positivity alone doesn't protect you from distraction. Distraction doesn't attack your motivation. It seduces Italiano. It tells you there's no rush, that you can stop for just a moment, that the goal will still be there later. I've seen this pattern repeat everywhere. People start strong, full of intention, and then slowly drift. Not because they don't care, but because they care about too many things at once. They lose sight of what matters most. Learning how mindset shapes your life became very real to me when I realized that a distracted mind can't build anything meaningful. Focus isn't just about attention. It's about choice. What you choose to ignore is just as important as what you choose to pursue. The hardest truth is this. Everyone sees the palace. Everyone wants to reach it. But not everyone is willing to walk past temptation without stopping. And temptation doesn't come once. It comes again and again, dressed differently each time. Food, entertainment, praise, comfort, approval. None of these are evil on their own, but when they pull you away from your purpose, te become reason most journeys end early. This is where self-control begins. Not in dramatic moments, but in quiet decisions. The choice to keep walking when stopping would feel better. The choice to remember your goal when your senses pull you elsewhere. Understanding how to control negative thoughts helps, but distraction doesn't come from negativity. It comes from comfort, and comfort is far more convincing than fear. How distractions quietly take control. What struck me most about the story was how nothing forced people to stop. No one blocked the road. No one told them they couldn't continue. The path was open the entire time. And that's exactly how distraction works in real life. It doesn't push you away from your goal. It gently pulls you aside. It whispers that you deserve a break, that you've worked enough, that there's still plenty of time. And before you realize it, hours have passed and your direction is gone. Distractions don't arrive as chaos. They arrive as comfort, a moment of pleasure after effort, a reward before the work is finished. I used to believe that discipline meant constantly pushing harder, but I learned that real discipline is quieter than that. It's the ability to say no when saying yes would feel easier. Learning how to stay hopeful when struggling isn't about waiting for motivation to return. It's about remembering why you started in the first place when everything else is trying to make you forget. What makes distraction even more dangerous is how normal it feels. Everyone else is stopping too. Everyone else is enjoying the fare, the noise, the entertainment. So stopping feels justified. You tell yourself you'll catch up later. But later rarely comes. And even if it does, you're already tired. This is where how mindset shapes your life becomes visible. A distracted mindset doesn't destroy dreams overnight. It delays them until they fade on their own. I started to notice this in my own routines. The moments when I told myself I'd just check something quickly. Just relax for a few minutes. Just enjoy what everyone else was enjoying. Those moments weren't evil, but they weren't neutral either. They slowly trained my mind to choose comfort over commitment. Learning how to control negative thoughts helped me notice when my mind tried to justify stopping, not by fighting those thoughts, but by recognizing the pattern behind them. The truth is, distraction feels harmless because it doesn't look like failure. It looks like life. And that's why so many people never realize what stopped them. They don't fail loudly. They drift quietly. And by the time they look up, the sun is already setting, and the palace feels farther away than ever. Why focus is harder than talent? One of the biggest lies we believe is that success belongs to the most gifted, smartest, the strongest, the most charismatic. But the story of the road and the palace tells a different truth. Talent didn't stop anyone from reaching the goal. Strength didn't fail them. Intelligence wasn't missing. What failed was focus. And focus is harder to master than any skill because it requires saying no again and again, even when no one is watching. I've learned that focus isn't about intensity. It's about direction. You don't need to run. You just need to keep moving forward. The people who stopped along the road didn't plant a key, they planned to pause. And that pause slowly became the end of their journey. That's why learning how to stay positive in tough times doesn't help much if you keep allowing distractions to decide for you. Positivity without discipline still drifts. Focus demands sacrifice, and that's why it's rare. It asks you to ignore things that feel good now for something that matters later. Food, entertainment, attention, pleasure. None of these are bad, but none of them are free. Every moment you give to distraction is a moment taken from your goal. Understanding how mindset shapes your life becomes painfully clear here. Your future isn't shaped by big decisions alone, but by the small choices you repeat daily. What surprised me was realizing how often distraction disguises itself as balance. I told myself I needed to enjoy life, that working too hard was unhealthy. And rest is important, yes, but rest with intention restores you. Rest without intention steals from you. Learning how to control negative thoughts helped me catch myself when I tried to justify stopping. Not every thought deserves obedience. Some thoughts exist only to keep you comfortable. Focus doesn't mean living without joy. It means choosing your joy wisely. The young man in the story didn't hate the fair. He simply valued his destination more. And that's the difference between ordinary people and extraordinary ones. They don't have stronger desires. They have clearer priorities. The discipline to keep walking when no one applauds one detail in. The story that always stands out to me is that the young man walked alone for most of the journey, while others gathered, laughed, competed, and celebrated along the road. He kept moving forward in silence. There was no applause for his discipline. No one congratulated him for resisting temptation. In fact, to most people, he probably looked foolish for not stopping to enjoy himself. That's exactly how focus feels in real life. When you're doing the right thing, it often looks boring from the outside. Discipline isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's the quiet decision to keep going when stopping would be easier. This is where most people lose momentum, not because the goal disappears, but because no one is watching them. Muftaguard Italiano. Learning how to stay hopeful when struggling becomes critical here. Hope doesn't come from external praise. It comes from inner alignment, knowing that what you're doing matters, even if no one sees it. I realize that distraction becomes more powerful when progress feels slow. When results aren't visible, temptation grows louder. Your mind starts asking, what's the point? That's when discipline matters most. Learning how to control negative thoughts isn't about silencing them, but about refusing to obey them. You don't need to argue with every thought. You just need to keep walking. This is also where identity plays a role. People who stay focused don't constantly renegotiate their purpose. They decide once and act accordingly. They don't wake up every day asking if they feel like pursuing their goal. They already know who they are and where they're going. Understanding how mindset shapes your life means realizing that mindset isn't motivation. It's commitment repeated over time. The young man didn't reach the palace because he was stronger than everyone. He reached it because he didn't stop. He didn't let boredom, pleasure, or social pressure redirect him. And that's a lesson most of us need to hear. Success often belongs to the one who simply refuses to pause. Why those who refuse to stop always arrive. When I think about this story now, I realize the ending isn't really about the palace or the throne. It's about a principle that applies to every part of life. The road to greatness is never blocked by lack of opportunity. It's blocked by distraction. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they keep stopping. They trade their future for moments that feel good now and expensive later. The young man didn't reach the palace because he avoided temptation entirely. He saw everything. He felt the pull of food, entertainment, pleasure, and comfort, just like everyone else. The difference was simple. He didn't let those things decide for him. He kept reminding himself of his purpose. And that's what most of us forget to do. We start strong, but we stop reminding ourselves why we started. Learning how to stay positive in tough times isn't about pretending distractions don't exist. It's about choosing not to obey them. In real life, distractions rarely look dangerous. They look normal. They look deserved. They look like just for today. But those small pauses add up. One day becomes a habit. A habit becomes a lifestyle. And suddenly, years pass without progress. Understanding how mindset shapes your life comes down to this. What you repeatedly give your attention to becomes your direction. Focus creates momentum. Distraction dissolves it. What I take from this story is simple but uncomfortable. Greatness isn't achieved by extraordinary people. It's achieved by ordinary people who refuse to stop. People who keep walking when no one is cheering. People who don't confuse pleasure with purpose. People who understand that self-control is more powerful than talent. Learning how to control negative thoughts helps, but controlling your actions matters more. Action shapes belief. Discipline shapes destiny. So if you're on a journey right now and it feels slow, lonely, or unexciting, don't assume you're doing something wrong. You might be doing exactly what's required. Stay focused. Keep walking. Don't stop for things that weaken your resolve, because the destination you want is real. It's waiting. And those who refuse to stop always arrive.